Welcome everyone to Your Our Unity, a show that wishes to spread a spirit of peace and love in the world, one conversation at a time.
None of that affects how you are going to change the world.
That's right.
No, it does not take one person to change the world, but it takes one person to believe in themselves.
Yes.
That they can make a difference.
I love
to
that.
Inspire others.
And that's why, for me, I try to make it my purpose now to try to help other people realize their self-worth.
Yeah.
Because it's so sad that so many of us, we get destroyed based off of what other people have to say.
Yeah.
I would say do it in your own way. Make sure you're doing it on your own accord and take a risk.
Go out there and live your life passionately. Believe in everything that you're doing and believe in the fact that you will accomplish every single goal. Welcome everyone to Your Our Unity, a show that wishes to spread a spirit of peace and love in the world, one conversation at a time. We want to encourage you to be the music, the sweet, calm music in someone's ear today. Allow them to just, dance and move to the rhythms and the beauty of you. I am your host, LeShawn Walker. I'd like to welcome you in. Please like, share, follow, let everyone know that we're on right now. I hope that you guys had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It was a long weekend for a lot of us. We were honoring Memorial Day. I actually did quite a bit. I want to share it with you, but I can't because I am excited about this segment today, which is society, culture, and you. Every last Tuesday of the month, I bring on my co-host, Dr. Reverend KC, and we have a deep conversation with amazing people about what they're doing in this world. So I know you're wondering, what is society, culture, and you? Well, it is a thought-provoking segment of the Your Our Unity show that delves into the multifaceted dynamics of human society and culture, examining topics such as social norms, cultural traditions, identity, diversity, and societal trends. Each episode of the show offers insightful discussions with experts and thought leaders and engaging narratives that shed light on the intricate interplay between individuals and the larger social and cultural environments which they exist. Society, Culture, and You seeks to empower viewers to better understand their own place in the world, foster empathy and understanding across diverse communities, and aspire positive social change. So I'd like to get right to it because we have an amazing show with a great, spectacular guest. So let's bring in our co-host, Dr. Casey Jones.
Hey there.
How are you, beautiful? How you doing?
All is well. A good day, good productive day.
I love it. I love it. I know I wasn't around for the last show, but I saw it. It was amazing. Again, I hope you guys are out there looking into organ donation. It is so very important. Dr. KC had a wonderful conversation with Stacey Connell and Katrina Erskine last time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was wonderful. If you haven't seen it, please go to YouTube, Facebook, wherever you need to go and rewatch that. So I understand you have a lot going on, my friend. In addition to you being so busy with the Wanted Project and Community Healing and Caring Center, you are also putting together a retreat, right?
Yes,
Tell us about that.
On June 22nd, it's going to be live and in action out here in Connecticut. I'll be having a soul care healing retreat. And it's, again, Saturday, June 22nd, 8:30 to 5 p.m., full day. Get continental breakfast and yoga and lunch. And it's all about soul care in the body. So we're going to learn how to boost our energy, release our physical tension. We're even going to have someone come in and do manual lymphatic drainage, or at least educating on us. We're 75% water. Yeah. And so we can actually redirect our own water in our bodies for healing. Right.
Really?
Right. I didn't know that either. So I'm really excited. I'm going to be doing emotional freedom techniques and tapping. And so it's just going to be a glorious day, rain or shine.
I love it. I love
love
it.
for everyone to be there.
Oh, well, we are definitely going to do our best. It is in Connecticut. I will be sharing the information with you guys after the show so that you can contact her to be part of this amazing soul care retreat. I mean, I think we all need it right now. As we always talk about self-love, self-care, just healing yourself from the inside out. And I think that is a wonderful platform for you to be doing it on, especially teaching so much. I mean, it sounds like a full packed
It's
day.
a full day workshop facilitator, shopping, whatever you want. We're going to have it here.
Oh my God. Do we get to take a nap too while we're there?
You need to take a little nap. There are breaks that we put in there so people can decompress and take in what they've learned. So yes.
I love it. Well, yes, we will be sharing that information on both of our pages. As you know, Dr. KC is also the founder and CEO of Restored Life Group and the partner of Defining You Life Fitness Center as well. So all of that information will be available as soon as the show is over. But once again, you have not failed to disappoint, my friend. You brought an amazing woman to the segment today, Society, Culture, and Youth.
That's right.
Lady, when I read all her, I was like, I know her.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Yes,
So
she's
I cannot
awesome.
wait for you to share a little about her. We're going to allow you to read a little about her while we show a few pictures, but then we're going to let her introduce herself with her visual bio, and then we'll bring her in, okay?
Awesome. Yes. So today, our guest is Miss Daryl Richardson. She's a native New Yorker, a former dancer on Broadway, television, and film director, producer, writer, caterer, CEO, and founder of the Me Nobody Knows, which is a self-published author. She's also a self-published author of 3 books on Amazon entitled Poems by the Spirit, Mentoring the Me Nobody Knows, and her most recent book is Careers from A to Z. Miss Daryl has appeared in Vanity Fair magazine with Tina Turner, on Broadway in The Wiz, Sophisticated Ladies, Can, and Anything Goes. Her film credits include The Wiz movie, A Chorus Line the movie, The Mask, What's Love Got to Do with It, Junior Hoodlum, and Monster Mash. She's toured with known artists such as Babyface, Barry White, and Earth, Wind, and Fire. Her television credits include the Academy Awards, the Essence Awards, the Soul Train Awards, the Emmy Awards, the Tony Awards, Cinderella, the Jamie Foxx Show, and the Drew Carey Show, the Arsenio Hall Show, and the MTV Awards with Prince. It goes on and on and on and on and on.
Oh my God.
But I cannot wait for you all to get to know her better. She has such a beautiful story. So
I love it.
Welcome Miss Daryl Richardson today.
Yes, the title of the show today is The World of Dance. And she's going to be sharing that with us. But real quick, let's see her beautiful face. Hi there.
How are you guys?
You're wonderful. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. We want to show real quick your visual bio, my friend, so people can get a better understanding and a look at who you are in your past and where you're going right now. Okay, so please, let's view her visual bio.
I'm Daryl Richardson. I'm Daryl Richardson. I'm Daryl Richardson. I'm Daryl Richardson. My name is Daryl Richardson. I'm Daryl Richardson. Hi, my name is Daryl Richardson. Hi, my name is Daryl Richardson.
My professional dance career began on the Broadway stages. To the Hollywood award shows, videos, commercials and film, to touring with R&B artists and working with some of the most notable talent in the entertainment industry. To being a model, a motivational speaker, to having reviews and articles in magazines, to being a self-published author, a writer, and a producer, to touring with Babyface, touring with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the legendary Barry White. After my extensive career in the entertainment industry, I came back to New York and started a nonprofit community-based organization called the Me Nobody Knows. I went into over 20 schools throughout the 5 boroughs implementing my performing arts program. Creating assembly formats and performance opportunities for the students. Teaching and ministering dance in churches as well. Ultimately, using the very students who I was teaching along with some professional dancers to be a part of my choreography reel. My most recent project is my episodic anthology docuseries entitled Behind the Stars, The Untold Stories of Black Industry Dance, which I created during a breast cancer journey in 2023. It was my words in prayer, those who were in agreement with me in prayer, and my faith in Almighty God that got me through to the other side to being cancer-free.
I love it. Oh my God. That is quite the impressive resume, I must say there, Miss Richardson.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. Thank you again for being here. And Dr. KC, go ahead. You start us off.
Awesome. Welcome again, Daryl. We've known each other for quite some time.
Yes.
And I couldn't think of a better guest for society, culture, and you. I'm just going to start off really simple. Was there a particular moment or influence that sparked your passion for dance?
So that's a very interesting question. So my mom started me in dance when I was like 3 years old, but technically, you know, just living in Queens, being out and about on the streets of New York and in front of your house in the summertime with kids, Diana Ross, Stop in the Name of Love was the song that we used to dance to. Yes, outside of my house. And I was just enamored with her. And of course, I was still taking dance classes. But if I could say anyone that was the influence, it was Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Wow.
All right. And
Yeah.
what age did you first start dancing?
When I was 3.
Wow.
But at 3, you know what we were doing. We weren't dancing. We were running around the studio, grabbing cars. But I thank God for my mom because she took me every Saturday. And at some point, I eventually grabbed onto that bar and started following the teacher. And then at 12, 13, 14 is when I really became passionate about it. And the owner of the dance studio told me that I needed to audition for the High School of Performing Arts. And I went to the guidance counselor and told her that. And the rest is history from there.
How did your path to dancing professionally and being part of all of these movies and performance artists, dancing for different artists, how did all of that come about?
Well, when I graduated from the High School of Performing Arts, my first professional job after I did a workshop with George Faison, who is a renowned choreographer, Tony Award winner and director, I did a workshop with him that summer. And literally in August, he handed me a contract to go on the road with the national touring company of The Wiz. Wow. So I was 18. I had never done Broadway before. I was supposed to go to Adelphi University in September. And I'm like, Mommy, Daddy, I got this contract to be the swing dancer. And a swing dancer has to know everybody's part.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so my mom was like, okay, we see what you're going to be making. I was making an amazing amount of money at that time. But when you come back, you got to go to school. And I was like, deal. So, went on the road for 2.5 years with The Wiz, came back to New York, got an agent.
Wow.
Of course, I didn't go back to school then. And I kept telling my parents, well, I'm doing now that Can on Broadway. Then I got Anything Goes on Broadway. And then Sophisticated Lady. So I was auditioning for these shows, and the favor of God was upon my life without me even being aware of it at that age.
Oh, wow.
And my parents were my biggest fans because every opening night, they were in the second row rooting me on. Like, they were so supportive.
I love it.
Yeah, it was amazing. But I just want to add this little tidbit because my parents are no longer here. But at 58 years young, I did go back to school to Empire State College and get my bachelor's in dance and musical theater according to my experience. And the reason why I wanted to do that, because I wanted to keep my word to my parents that I'm going to go back, Mommy. I'm going to go back, Daddy. And it really was a blessing for my nieces and nephews to see that, to let them know that it's never too late to accomplish something that you put your mind to.
Yes.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. And as far as mentors go, you mentioned Faison, and I've heard that name. I just don't know where, but I've heard it in that industry. What other mentors have kind of got you out there and on your way to start?
Well, what's interesting is my peers and colleagues and dance family, and that's what propelled me to write this docuseries on Behind the Stars, the untold stories of Black industry dancers, because we were a force to be reckoned with back then. Mm-hmm. We encouraged each other. And even though we didn't get to work a lot together because of the race card that was being played back then, because they were always either going to hire one Black dancer, but if it was a Black show, then we would all be, catapulted into that cast. Right. But rarely did we get to work together. So it was my peers and colleagues that we motivated each other because we were determined. We were our best supporters. We weren't haters and jealous and all of that. When auditions were happening, we were like, you guys, there's an audition down at 890. So-and-so is having an audition. Like, that was how we were back then. And so I say my dance family.
Oh, wow. That is. What challenges did you find that you guys had to overcome during that time? I mean, you're straight out of high school, right?
Yes.
Still a young adult, and you're, literally trying to figure out who you are in the midst of all that was going on around you. So what kind of challenges did you experience, and what were your fondest times of that time, that era?
Well, the casting calls were the most challenging because the casting calls were cattle calls. And if you know what a cattle call is, it's hundreds of thousands of dancers. And just to be able to strategize through that process to get selected, usually they'd line you up. There was a type that sometimes they were looking for. And unfortunately, as I said, we as African-American dancers, we would all be in the room together and be like, okay, God, good luck. Let's see which one of us gets this job.
Wow.
Which one of us gets this job. Meanwhile, it could be a cast of 30,
right?
And they're going to hire one Black girl and one Black guy. So that was the challenge. But the being able to overcome that, which was amazing, because back then we didn't have Black Lives Matter. We didn't have advocacy outside of the theater talking about hire more Black dancers. And when I think back in retrospect of what we were able to conquer and get through, it boggles my mind, but it also amazes me at the strength that we had to persevere, because we were truly trying to get to our promised land, which was a career of longevity and being able to work as a professional dancer.
What were your most memorable, and you had so many in your bio, I don't know how you're going to choose, but what's the height of your career, your dance career?
So it's true. It's so many different levels and elements, but I'd have to say working with Michael Jackson was amazing as an assistant choreographer to Greg Burge on the Bad video. Wow. And because he was phenomenal.
Yes.
I was the biggest fan, and I had to be like, okay, Daryl, you have to be professional. You cannot be that fan. And when we would come into rehearsal, it was just like, oh my God, like that was going on inside, but I had to teach him choreography and just kind of hanging out and just being there, helping him with doing things was phenomenal. And I have to mention Babyface because he treated us like the queens that we were. Right. Okay. Yeah. Royalty, such a gentleman with the entire cast. That was one of those two opportunities and was one of my best, I think, that I can speak of.
I love that.
So I got to piggyback. Did you say the best? So can you spill the tea about the worst?
Let's see. The worst. Oh. Okay, so I won't mention names.
Okay.
But I will mention a situation.
Okay.
We were on the set, and the dancers were, one of the things about dancers, they always are listed at the bottom of the totem pole. And that's how we have always been treated. And we always have to stand up, step out, and stand up for our rights to be able to get paid appropriately and to get billing and all of that. And so there was this one particular job, and one of the dancers was like, we need to be on a production contract. Like, we're on vouchers and we need to get a higher scale of rate. And so I'm like, I'm for you. So go for it. And I was working on it as well. But as a behind the scenes, I was in the creative department. I wasn't one of the dancers, but I know as a dancer, I was encouraging him to do it.
Right.
Well, he did go forth and present what he wanted for us, for them as dancers. And they ended up giving the dancers a contract to make more money. Okay. But when he went home that day, his apartment was ransacked. He had food in the refrigerator that was taken all out in his apartment, bananas smashed, eggs broken. I'm talking, wow. You talk about sending a message.
Yes. Oh, that was clear.
And unfortunately, he did not come back to finish the job because he was petrified. Can you imagine?
Yeah. No, I could.
And
jeez.
It was just really interesting. And prior to that happening, one of the principals came to me and whispered in my ear and said, well, who's the troublemaker? I said, there's no troublemaker. I said, these dancers are wanting to get what's due. And I said, and me being a dancer, I'm in agreement with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the worst.
Well, you mentioned that you were treated like the queen that you knew you were by Babyface. Did you know, honestly, within yourself at that young age that you truly were a queen, and how much talent you actually had, considering you were part of these cattle calls, as you mentioned, and you had so many other talents coming in? Were you secure in who you were at that time and your capabilities?
One of the things I think that I did, like Beyonce talks about having an alter ego. I think I created an alter ego for me. When I went into auditions, I was Diva Daryl, and I was going in there to nail this gig. And if I didn't get that gig, they're lost. And that was my mentality. And you can ask any of my friends, they would always say, uh-oh, Daryl's coming into the audition. Okay, she's probably going to book the gig. Like, they would literally say that. I didn't know they were saying that at the time, but of course, years later. But I think I had to put on the mindset because of the competitiveness, and then to really realize I'm good. I'm a good dancer. And if I can just share this, when I really had the revelation, when I auditioned for the Wiz movie, I think I was 19 at the time, and it was at the St. George Hotel, downtown Brooklyn. I don't even know if that hotel is still there. My dad drove me to the audition. I was number 375.
Wow.
There was hundreds of thousands of dancers, and I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. She's fabulous. Look at her stretch. Now, meanwhile, I was that too. But I was taking my eyes off of myself and comparing myself to who was in the room. When I went in the room, I went to the back. And the whole group got cut. Wow. And I left out of that audition. I said, you know what? He didn't see me.
Yeah.
I went into the dressing room. I had my hair in a ponytail. I put it up on top. I changed my leotard because back then we had clothes. Oh yes, went and got another number. Now I was number 800 and something. Went back in the room to the front. To this day, I get residual checks for the Wiz movie.
Oh my goodness.
Let me tell you, and I tell my students this all the time. Never compare yourself to anybody in the room because you belong there. And when you take your mind off of yourself and start looking around, your whole self-esteem begins to diminish. And I picked up my self-esteem when I left that room, changed my clothes and leotard, and had the courage to go back in there. Lewis Johnson was the choreographer. He never knew that until later on in years. When I asked him, oh, Mr. Johnson, I don't know if you know this, but during the Wiz movie, and this is years, the Wiz movie was in the 70s, and he laughed about it. He said, well, okay, for the perseverance, because you have to have that. You have to have a wherewithal of not giving up no matter what happens. And this is what I try to tell my young people. Don't give up. Don't give up.
That is a word, LeShawn, for all of us.
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness. Daryl, you mentioned things were different back then. You all supported, the dancers supported each other.
Yes.
Do you know what it's like now? Is it okay? So you must know. Is it much different than how?
It's very different.
Yeah.
It's very different. The mindset, and I don't want to put, throw the dancers under the bus, but we had something, and this is the reason why I'm producing this docuseries, because they need to know the stories and whose shoulders they stand on. A lot of the training is different. They're amazing. However, the things that they're doing, I want to see if they're going to be able to do what they do 10 years, the longevity. And that's something that we created as dancers from back in the day. The technique was important. We were mindful of the jobs that we took and the things that we did, and we did support each other. I think there's a lot of jealousy and envy and strife that has entered not only in the dance world, but in the world, period. And usually when that happens, it's because people don't know who they are. And so, that's what I would say about today's generation of dancers.
And also social media, I'm assuming, has a lot to do with jealousy as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because everybody's out there.
Everyone's out there. We had showbiz and backstage as casting papers, and then we would get agents. So we didn't have the platform of social media. You had to go in the room to prove your talent back then. Now people are getting hired just by looking at their Instagram pages.
Well, how do you help those that are, trying to break into that industry, knowing that you'll be seen on TikTok before you'll be seen, putting in that hard work? I know that you're still working with the youth and working with a lot of dancers in that art field. What do you do different, or how are you training them so that they are prepared for longevity instead of just that, one-time stardom?
Right. That fast food gig, right? So they have the longevity. So really teaching, and even though I go into the public schools and teaching the general population, still teaching from a professional perspective. Because the bottom line is, if you are professional, your character, your integrity is on point, That's what's going to carry you and sustain you. Now, when I talk about today's generation, now Broadway is still operating on a level of professionalism. So they're not looking at Instagram and TikTok.
Okay, good.
You got to come into the room and you better be able to sing, dance, and act, be triple threat most of the time, to even get a spot in the shows. So there's a lot of different platforms of dance that are out there. You know, you have the touring companies for concert work where you have to have technique. You have the tours with R&B artists, which is a whole different genre. You know, one of the things I'm not teaching in my classes, we're not teaching the kids how to twerk.
Okay. Wow.
We're not doing that.
God.
Okay.
We're not supporting that. And even when I go into these high schools and they're like, "Oh, Miss Richardson, I have a song." I'm like, "Let me hear it." Two chords in, there's profanity. I'm like, "Nope, we're not using that."
No.
So it's really creating a standard and a platform of moral ethics for these kids, not to be so conformed to what they're used to hearing. And so I bring musical theater into to the classes and teaching them about our generation. You don't know who George Faison is? You don't know who Louis Johnson is? Let me show you these dancers. Look at this dancer. And I have pictures and experiences with so many phenomenal dancers that where their stories need to be told, not only publicly, but to this generation as well.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to the youth, what do you tell them? Like, what is the main thing you tell them about making it in the industry, but making it with integrity?
Yeah. So always wanting to have a teachable spirit and humility.
Yes.
And being kind. Because I'm going to tell you, you can be the most fabulous talent on the planet, but if you have an attitude and if you're hard to work with, guess what? People don't want to hire you. And you'll be surprised how you can gain a reputation because everyone's watching. So don't be that one on that gig that is always complaining. Like what the Israelites, they stayed in the wilderness for 40 years from complaining, right? They never complained. Don't be murmuring, don't be complaining. Get the training, do what's right, and don't compare yourself to anyone.
Yeah.
Because the minute you start comparing yourself, that's where jealousy and envy and strife creep in. Because you're trying to be better than someone else. Compare yourself to you and just continue to reach out for the talent that's within you and hone that talent. There is a National Dance Day coming up in June honoring the Legends in Battle. And I literally, Stephanie Pope and the Men of Theater are hosting. And I literally started, promoting that flyer to all of my, former dancers. Come on out. It's a day of dance. It's free. But you're going to be taking classes with some amazing teachers and choreographers. And so really exposing themselves and networking to that line of people, because you never know. Networking is the key. And just being in the room, just show up. Just show up.
Right. Yeah. I know you built some really strong and long relationships throughout the year, throughout your career. Do you still, have very good friends? Are you still, close with the producers, choreographers, and the artists from yesteryear?
I am. And it's so refreshing and so amazing. We sit around talking about, honey, I knew you for 50 years, 50 years of friendship, 50 years of professionalism and friendship, which is so amazing. Yes, I can list numerical amount of artists, dancers, singers, actors who are still in our lives. Because like I said, we are a dance family. The entertainment industry is very small. When you think, well, the world is very small. I always say 6 degrees of separation, right?
Yeah.
But I love that we have this camaraderie, and now it's about reinventing ourselves and supporting one another in that. Because I'm gonna be 66 next month. So we're not touring like we used to. We're not doing that. So that's why I wanted to start doing public speaking and wanted to write my books and to create this docuseries. Because as an artist, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. Nothing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
The role of dance, right? I always say music and dance. Those are the two things that I go to just de-stress. But it brings people together who are different from one another. What do you think the role of dance in society is?
Dance and music are universal. Doesn't matter your background, your creed, your gender. When you can hear music, and then you can, interact with dance, there's a freeness that happens.
Mm.
There is something that transpires that you can't even describe. I kind of compare it to like the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When you have an encounter with God and you're in prayer or however you want to encounter the Lord, it's that kind of fulfillment. Dance and music, and that's where love is. That's where you can bring the interaction of people, and there's no racism.
Yeah.
There's no judgment. There is acceptance, and that's what I believe dance and music contribute to our world.
I love it. I love it. How do you think it's evolved over the years, from your perspective? Is it getting better, more diverse? Is it okay? So tell us.
It is getting more diverse, which I have to applaud. And even with types, because back in the day when we were standing on the casting line, they were looking for dancers that were this big, a certain height. And so if you were full figured or had, a little more weight on you than others, sometimes you didn't make the cut. But now it's so diverse, which I think is great. They have all types of dancers that are being, auditioned and getting into jobs and things of that nature. So I really think that it has come a long way in that aspect.
I love it. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What do you think about the dance shows? I have to say I love them, but coming from a dance perspective and a background, you might think differently about them. What do you think about them?
Well, let's see. What shows are you referring to?
Oh, so you could dance.
Really loved, and it's probably, I think it's canceled, World of Dance with, who was J-Lo on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, those dancers were
amazing.
off the chain. Yeah.
I love that show because they really enlarge their borders and territory to go outside of the United States to see all types of dance and cultures. So yeah, I did love that show. I also like Dance Moms, believe it or not.
Oh,
Really?
I love those little kids on the show. I wish they had more Black kids on the show.
yeah.
Always. That's always my go-to. It's like, well, where are we? Because you want to see someone that looks like you. And the same thing with kids. You want to see somebody that looks like you, Black kids especially. So you think you can dance? One of my dear friends, Sean Cheeseman, was a choreographer on that show.
Really?
And he's going to be featured in my docu-series. Yes.
Ooh.
So, yeah. I mean, I think it's great because that's just a whole nother platform because, like I said, dancers were always treated the lowest of the totem pole.
Yes.
So being exposed in that magnitude kind of brings the level up.
Yeah.
For the public to see. Because a lot of times people don't understand that being a dancer, being an artist, that's a job. That's a profession. You get a check.
Yes. Yeah.
You get insurance. You get a pension. I'm collecting a pension from being in the unions, literally.
Amen. Yes.
And so a lot of people don't understand that, and they think lesser of. And I want to share a story with you. There was a school in New Jersey. I'm not going to mention the name, and they wanted me to come out to do a performance, a program with the kids. And they were excited when they got my resume. They're like, "Oh my God, this is so great!" But then as they began to talk about funding and what it would cost, I just put together what my rate is. Then it completely turned. And then they talked about, well, we have an organization that came and taught the kids the lambada. I said, in a day. I said, well, then if you want me to teach the electric slide, I could do that. That was the comparison to what they were thinking. And I'm like, that's not what I do. And so I think they don't understand, a lot of people don't, but a lot do, don't understand the level of professionalism and what is required. And when you think that, well, this is just the neighborhood school, then you're creating mediocrity.
Yep.
You're creating a level of mediocrity for your just neighborhood school. Why not expose them to the best?
That's
Exactly.
right.
So,
And if they reached out to you, they clearly wanted to expose
exactly
the best. So why don't you pay the best what they're worth? So I love that. Well, you said that you have to reinvent yourself, and I understand the youth is your passion right now. You're an author, you're a speaker. Tell us a little about how you transition into that and how important it is for you to be there to impact the youth.
Well, when I was 14 years old at Count Basie Middle School, a guidance counselor literally asked me, Daryl Richardson, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, I want to be a professional dancer on Broadway. I knew that at 14. And so when I came back from Los Angeles and on tour, and I came back to take care of my parents, and I saw the kids in the neighborhood just hanging out, and I would ask them, what do you want to do? What's your future? And they were like, I want to be a singer. I want to be an actor. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really what motivated me to want to start my nonprofit, The Me Nobody Knows. And I created it, a DBA. I went and registered with the Department of Education as a vendor. And literally, God, as my agent, promoter, and publisher and manager, gave me instructions on how to market myself in that platform, because I was a dancer. I never didn't know anything in the educational field.
Right.
And he literally said, show them your credits.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is your bait.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I'm like, really? Okay. And so I put together my press kit and this and pictures and all the stuff that you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I started sending it to principals, and they were just like, we need to have an appointment with you. And it was amazing how things just turned. So sometimes, and I was trying to be like, I don't want to put myself on blast like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to put yourself out there,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise, how will they know?
Yeah.
How will they know? So that's what started. Yeah. One school after another, and then recommendations. And I just literally got a phone call from a principal that I haven't seen since 2011 and wants me to come into her middle school, no, her elementary school tomorrow.
Okay.
For the last few weeks of the summer to start a performing arts program.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Continue on in September. And I'm going to tell you, I am praising God for that opportunity, because I literally just had knee replacement surgery 8 weeks ago.
oh wow.
And just all of the things I've been through, trusting God every step of the way, knowing that I said, okay, Lord, if you make this happen, if you've made this happen, then surely I must be equipped to do it.
Amen.
And then have to trust it. Just have to trust myself and trust God. Do it.
I've known you also when you were dancing at Allen AME Church, and I know you've danced at plenty of churches. You're a faithful person.
Yes.
And you just got through breast cancer. And I say through because now you're in remission. I mean, and that just happened like yesterday, right?
That was yesterday.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that journey and what God has done.
Wow, that was, you just never know how life is going to creep up on you. You just don't know. And I was teaching at a high school from 2018 to 2023. In 2021, when COVID hit, we were online doing the classes. And then when we had to come back into the building, I was told that I had to get a COVID vaccination, which I was very apprehensive about doing. I didn't want to do it. And literally they said, if you don't do it, you're not going to be able to come back into the building to teach.
Yeah.
That was my livelihood. And I did it. 6 months later, a lump appeared on my sternum area. On the same side where I got the vaccination, and lymph nodes.
Wow.
Yes.
A month after that, a biopsy, it is malignant. And I was just like, what? And they were like, well, does cancer run in your family? Absolutely not. No, this happened because of the COVID vaccination. Like, I was putting that on blast because I really believe that. And I found an African-American oncologist who confirmed that for me. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, but still having to go through, I had to go through chemotherapy for 4 months, radiation for 2. But the entire time I was Vimeo voice memo recording myself, praying every morning. I am the exception to every side effect and statistic that the doctors have said. I'm going to come through this with flying colors. Like, you talk about decreeing and declaring.
Yes.
I was recording that, sending it out to my prayer partners, saying, this is what I need y'all to pray.
Get in one accord.
Oh my God, I can't even tell you. And long story short, I was able to get through that. Like I said, the only thing that happened was I lost my hair, but God brought me through it. And even during it, he had my creative juices flowing, because that's when Careers from A to Z was born. That's where the Behind the Stars, the Untold Stories of Black Industry Dancers was born. This was all during chemo and radiation.
It happens.
So, yeah, I'm so grateful.
How do you use those challenges to sort of fire you up today and everything that you're wishing to continue to accomplish and also impacting the youth?
Trusting God. Knowing that he is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that I can even ask or think. I have desires, but guess what? His are even greater than that.
Yes, they are.
So I present my desires to him, but I'm like, Lord, not my will, your will. What do you see? Because sometimes we limit God based on our own minute thinking. And I want the young people to know. I went back to visit the high school I was at, and I can't even tell you how they just welcomed me with so much love. A lot of them didn't even know what I was dealing with. Some of the teachers, and I'm like, well, yeah, they said, we thought you went to another school. I'm like, no, I was dealing with cancer. And it was so refreshing, but I believe God was having me see that to show me the impact that I made at that school with the teachers and the students. It was amazing. And so I love impacting. I'm an encourager. I'm an exhorter by nature. And so kids, people, human beings, doesn't matter the age or anything, I want to try to always encourage. And I believe that God allows us to go through things so that we can be an example and a blessing for someone else who's going through it too.
Yes, I agree. I'm so glad God healed you, my friend. Your prayers were answered. You look amazing. You didn't lose your hair. You got a beautiful haircut.
Thank you so much.
It's beautiful.
I appreciate that.
Dr. Casey.
Yeah. Oh, just beautiful. So what's next for Miss Daryl Richardson?
Well,
Speaker, author.
That's a great question. Like I'm the things that are on my plate, I can't even begin to name the things that God has given me over the years. And I have been revisiting that because Ecclesiastes 11:2 says, invest in 7, no 8 ventures because you don't know what the future is going to hold. Now, I came across that scripture recently. I've seen it before.
I've never heard it.
Okay, listen.
I wrote that down because I'm about all this that we're doing.
Thank you.
Yes.
I never heard that scripture, but let me tell you what I used to pray. I used to pray for multiple streams of income.
Absolutely.
Multiple streams of income. And then through a prayer and fasting time for myself with the Lord, God brought me to that scripture.
Wow.
Oh my God, this is what I've been praying for all these years. So Ecclesiastes 11:2, just putting that out there. So the things that I have on my plate, let's talk about it. Okay, I have the creation in animation and in musical theater in English and Swahili. I have Behind the Stars, the untold stories of Black industry dancers that I just created. The books that I have, Poems by the Spirit, Mentoring the Me Nobody Knows, Careers from A to Z. I'm working on another book that is telling my story. It's called, well, I don't even want to release the title right now, but I'm working on that, telling my testimony and believing God for some things.
I love it.
Believing him for some things. And I really believe that book is probably going to come out after I receive those things.
Yes.
So yes, so much. And being a public speaker, this is one of the things that I was praying for. And my daughter said, Mommy, you got to be specific. Paid public speaker.
Thank you, Trinity.
Yes.
I tell you, yes. We got to be very clear about the things that we pray for. So so all of those things. And I just want to add, Reverend KC, when I had my procedure of my lumpectomy, she drove me to the hospital. Aww. She was right there in the waiting room with my dear friend Marvin, who is no longer with us. Aww. And just to have that kind of support was life-changing for me.
Yes, I can imagine.
It was life-changing for me.
That's beautiful.
I'm all about helping the sisters.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Sisterhood is so real, especially the spiritual sisterhood. So I'm glad that you had that. That's beautiful.
Did.
Well, you again, we mentioned, so passionate about the youth and education and the arts. How do you see the role of arts in education, and what benefits do you think it brings to the students?
So this is very interesting that you asked that question, because here in the United States, the arts is becoming more, it's expanding, right? Principals, the majority of principals, I should say, are realizing the importance of having arts. component in the school. The kids need a platform to express themselves. The educational system has created a curriculum that does not target diversity, does not target all of our children at large. And a lot of our kids are struggling with that, okay? Because they're eight learning styles and everyone learns different. So it's not that they have ADHD or they have a learning disability, it's they learn differently. So if you take the time to figure out how they learn, maybe, just maybe you can be a little more creative in your curriculum and teaching, that they will get it.
Yes.
So the arts creates that. And so what I find is that if they never want to be a professional dancer, singer, or actor, it creates discipline, self-esteem, confidence. It taps into their innate gifts and abilities, and it's a win-win all around.
Right.
I went to Nairobi, Kenya in 2019 and did a dance workshop, and I am still communicating with these young people to this day.
Oh.
And they say to me, they're like, Mom, they call me Mom. They said, we want you to come back because our families here in Kenya, they don't think dance is like a real career. I was like, really?
Wow.
That's what I said. I'm like, well, let's encourage them. Let's figure out how we can change that paradigm mindset, paradigm shift mindset for them to see that even if they do other things, they can always have that to fall back on if that's their passion.
Right.
My thing is tapping into their passion. And that's what the arts does. It taps into a child's passion and purpose. And I love it. I just love it. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It sure is. Keep doing that. I think
in
Africa, I spend a lot of time in Africa. I think anything like dancing for church and in the church, all for it. It leaves that venue, and that's here too. So thank God that you're, working with them on that.
Absolutely.
What piece, I'm looking at the time, I know we're wrapping up, but what piece of advice would you give your younger self now that you know it all?
My younger self, just to never give up, trust your instinct. Because what I found as growing older is my instinct, that little still small voice, God speaking to us, right? There's no coincidences. Everything is ordained of God, good, bad, or indifference. And he's going to use everything for our good and his glory.
Everything.
Yes, I would tell, but that's what I would tell my younger self. And this is what I tell my younger kids, the students. I call them my kids, even though I only have one child. This is what I tell my child. This is what I tell any young person that is in my life. I always want to encourage and to edify them to be the best you. No one can be you better than you can.
That's right. Amen. Oh my God. Let me ask you then, what do you wish you would have known back then that you've learned now that you are instilling in these kids, sort of like a shortcut to where they could be and who they could be?
That's a great question. Not to be, and this is a hard one, because you want to be giving, but to use wisdom on where you, don't cast your pearls before swine. Because some people will use you and usurp your glory, and you end up wasted and just exhausted from pouring out and never getting anything reciprocated back. So I would tell my young self to be mindful, be a fruit inspector, number one, to be mindful
like that
of who you labor among, who's in your circle, because everybody doesn't wish you well.
Very true.
They just don't.
Yes.
And to really be able to discern that at a young age. I had to learn that growing up and becoming an adult.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. And it's so true. You're absolutely right. And I always say it to my friends now that there's a lot of people who are with you, but they're not necessarily for you. So that is good advice. Good advice. Well, as Reverend Dr. KC stated, we are winding down, and I always go over. So I'm going to allow her to ask you maybe the final question, and then I want you to share with us whatever you want to share with our viewers. Okay.
Great.
All right. So go ahead, Doctor.
So did you get to meet TD Jakes when you were with Women Thou Are Loose? Okay.
Absolutely. I met TD Jakes. He was amazing. He was on tour with us for most of the time.
Wow.
And I remember we started rehearsing at the Potter's House in Dallas. And I was on the elevator with him, and we were going up, and he got off the elevator, and then he turned to me and said, "I want you to minister at church on Sunday."
Ah!
Let me tell you, that moment, that was a Holy Ghost moment.
Favor.
The Lord spoke to his heart, and he turned to me and said that, and I was like, okay.
Favor.
And I ended up dancing to For Every Mountain by Beverly Crawford.
Okay.
But that service was amazing.
Wow.
And he gave me an honorarium. He gave me an honorarium, a very generous honorarium for dancing at his church. And so it really made me see, God was showing me that you never don't give a price to what you're going to do. You let me tell them what's for you. And ever since that happened, that's been my MO going forward.
Were you always, so spiritually grounded, even as a teenager, while you were going through this process of defining you?
Not at all. No, my parents, we went to an Episcopalian church. That's where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I believed in God, of course, but did I have a prayer life? Absolutely not. Was I a sinner? Absolutely. I was out there, doing what young people do. And it wasn't until, I'm trying to think, when I was in New York, and if I can be transparent,
Please do.
doing cocaine. And I was in my brownstone in Brooklyn, and I literally heard the Lord say, I heard a voice. I didn't know it was the Lord at the time.
Right.
What are you trying to do? Kill yourself?
Wow.
And I made everybody leave out of the house. This was my salvation moment. I made everybody leave out the house. They thought I was freaking out. They were like, oh, she's bugging out. She done whatever. And that morning I got up. I had my parents' car. They were out of the country. They were in the Bahamas somewhere. And I drove my parents' car back to my house, my home where I grew up. It was like something about going back to childhood.
Yeah.
And I was there, and I remember calling a dear friend of mine, and he told me that a friend of mine was in town, and I called him up, and he said, you need to meet me at church this morning. Service starts at 11, and it's Glory Tabernacle on Columbus Avenue in the city.
Wow.
So I had been up all night.
Wow.
I got dressed. I still had clothes at my parents' house. I had fashion fair makeup all over my face. I was trying to cover up everything I went through. I had on a pair of black Ray-Bans.
Wow.
Going to church with my friends that called me up, and I'm sitting in the church with black Ray-Bans.
Wow.
And the man of God said, somebody's in here that's been up all night. You've been doing cocaine, and if you want to get delivered right now, come down to the pulpit.
Whoa! I can't.
I literally went like this. My hand went up.
Wow.
I went down to the front. He prayed over me. I cannot even tell you. I'm talking about deliverance on the spot. When I went back to my brownstone, I still had paraphernalia. I flushed it down the toilet. I was clean immediately.
Oh my God.
People were calling me that day, Daryl, you going to have something at your house? I said, no. I said, I got saved today.
That's right. I love that. She said she got saved today. That's what you're going to leave us with, my friend. You got saved that day. And look at who you are after that. I love it. We're going to put up your information, Miss Richardson. It has been amazing. I want everyone to reach out to you. There is her information. Please look her up. Please check out what's the name of your organization again? The Me
Nobody Knows.
The Me Nobody Knows. We're going to check you out, my friend. Time is winding down. We have to end. I'd like to thank you again. We're going to have you back because you've got more to tell us and share with us. I know September is World of Dance Month or something, so we will definitely have to look to have you back, okay?
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to put a blast out for the Dance Day Hinton Battle at Ajar Studio on June 10th. It's free classes all day long and a talk back, which I'm also on the panel of. So if anybody's interested, please give me a call and we can arrange for you to attend that and participate in that amazing event.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Daryl, for being here.
Thank
Thank you so much, you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Such a blessing. Thank you.
And Dr. KC, thank you again for being my phenomenal co-host. Let's put up her information real quick, and then we're going to say goodbye to you guys. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of Your Our Unity, Society, Culture, and You. Please remember that peace and love is in the palm of our hands. So let's go out there, some love, share some love, and just give some love. Have a good night.
Good night, you guys.
Good
Thank you so
night.
much. Love y'all.
Blessing.
Bye. Wow.